As with all sports seasons, there are tales of upsets, tales of teams rising from the ashes, getting their groove right when they need to, and of course, tales of teams that were supposed to be good but actually aren't. In the NBA, that team is none other than the Los Angeles Lakers. In the offseason, they went overboard bringing in and bringing back key pieces to help make a push for the title. And yet, they're fighting for the 9th spot in the Western Conference. And now, all sorts of trade talks are going on for what's to come, including one rumored big one for their big man. Allow us to show you this Lakers Magic trade that features Anthony Davis. State of play. The Los Angeles Lakers are a team that could be open for business this upcoming NBA offseason. There have been plenty of rumors swirling about what direction the team could head in, as major changes may be on the horizon. There's a good chance that a new general manager and head coach are put into place, as Rob Pelinka and Frank Vogel are on two of the hottest seats in the NBA. Barring a miraculous late-season run, both are on the chopping block. No matter who is leading the front office, this is a roster that needs an overhaul. The Russell Westbrook trade really set them back, and they're going to need to make a lot of moves to get this roster back in position to contend. Moving on from Westbrook is certainly something that will be on the table, but it is fair to question how much they could get in return for him outside salary dumps. There is one other option that could replenish the roster, and that is Anthony Davis. While Davis is as injury-prone as it gets, he's an impactful player on both ends of the court when he can play. Plenty of teams would be willing to make a deal for him, and the Lakers should be able to get multiple assets back in return. And in the eyes of some, that potential landing spot could be none other than the Orlando Magic, who could potentially be in the market for a big man to go alongside their staunch defense and younger talent. But how exactly would that work? What each side would get? This trade would certainly be a blockbuster one for the Los Angeles Lakers and Orlando Magic. Orlando is not considered a hotspot for free agents, so acquiring all-stars has always been difficult. Normally, they leave the first chance they get, but Davis would help legitimize a team that seems to constantly be rebuilding. But who exactly would they get? Well, in one scenario, they'd get guard Jalen Suggs, center Wendell Carter Jr., forward Jonathan Isaac, and draft capital. In return, Davis gives the Magic an all-star for all of their young players to play off of. He will carry a lot of the burden, but there's a ton of talent still on the roster to grow and develop alongside. While the Lakers will not get close to the haul for Davis as they paid to acquire him from the New Orleans Pelicans, this is a solid package. They get a potential guard for the future in Jalen Suggs, who is the number 5 overall pick in the 2021 NBA Draft. Wendell Carter Jr. has come into his own this season with career highs essentially across the board. Jonathan Isaac has been injury-prone but is oozing with potential given his length and athleticism. Add in whatever draft capital is necessary as the cherry on top for Los Angeles. They can use those to build another trade package around to land another established player or to bring on some much-needed youthfulness on an older roster. Would this improve the Lakers? The Los Angeles Lakers are in a tough spot. They have to figure out how to get back to being competitive as long as LeBron James is on the roster while trying to improve their future outlook. Both are bleak right now, but trading Anthony Davis could at least help them get back on track. This move alone doesn't make the Lakers title contenders, but they would certainly be more competitive with 3 more rotation pieces. Jalen Suggs has some upside after being a high lottery pick last season, while Wendell Carter Jr. can provide an immediate impact on the boards and is an improving three-point shooter. The most intriguing piece of this deal is Jonathan Isaac. He is a legitimate building block if he can remain healthy, but that is a huge if. He has been unable to do so yet in his career, but his two-way potential is immense. Whatever draft capital the Lakers could get from the Magic, in addition, would be key pickups for Los Angeles. Those picks will help restock their draft capital after depleting their war chest to acquire Davis in the first place. That could help them land another established start to push them closer to being a contender in the Western Conference. Trading Davis would seem to be counteractive to that, but they have to do something to upgrade the roster. He may be their best chance to make one more run with James and avoiding bottoming out once James moves on. Would this help the Magic? The Orlando Magic are in the early stages of a rebuild with a new regimen in place. It is unlikely they would look to acquire someone such as Anthony Davis at this time, as they want to continue building the roster up. But this is a trade that they could consider if they feel they have enough young assets and want to start putting together pieces to become competitive again. A lineup of Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, Franz Wagner, Davis, and Mo Bamba, with Terrence Ross, Chuma Okeke, and RJ Hampton leading the bench unit, is certainly an intriguing one. Add in another lottery pick from the 2022 NBA draft, and the Magic could be in business. Davis would provide Orlando with a go-to player offensively that the other guys on the team can play off of. Despite some of the struggles he has had this season, he is still someone that commands attention from opposing teams. Playing alongside a legitimate center, enabling Davis to remain at power forward, is something he would like as well. The Magic aren't normally an attractive landing spot for free agents, but if they can get Davis in place before free agency, that could change. Projected to have some of the most cap space available in the league, they could quickly go from bottom feeders to playoff contenders in the Eastern Conference depending on how things shake out. Acquiring Davis accelerates the Magic's timetable, but it could be something ownership is open to doing. He brings star power they are missing and is a legitimate cornerstone, still only 29 years old. But the risks. The real risk here lies in the pieces themselves. There's no denying that Anthony Davis makes an impact wherever he goes. The problem is that the impact is very inconsistent. Just ask the Pelicans or the Lakers. And yes, we know that both he and LeBron were able to get a win in the NBA bubble, but there's a major catch to that victory, an asterisk if you will, that can't be ignored. Mainly, the bubble came after a 6-month break due to the global pandemic. So they basically played a season, then got a 6-month break where they did almost nothing, outside of their standard training for when the season would return, and then went right back at it again. That time off allowed Davis to heal, and as such, be in peak shape for the bubble, thus helping them get the win. But what's happened now in the 2 seasons following that win? Injuries. Lots of them. So if the Magic do take a swing at getting Davis, they're risking trading good talent for one guy who might not even be on the floor all that often. Can the Lakers bounce back? That is a good question, because after a disappointing previous season, this was supposed to be their bounce back. They were bringing in players that work well with LeBron, as well as other pieces that they had gotten rid of after their championship run. But by mid-season, the team was a mess. The chemistry wasn't good, and fast forward to now, it's still a hilarious mess that may not even make the playoffs. Whether the Lakers bounce back next season will depend on the moves they make. But as this past offseason has proved, just because you do make moves doesn't mean they're going to work out the way you want them to. So, what do you think? What do you think of this look at the potential trade between the Lakers and the Magic and what it might look like? Do you think that this is indeed something that the Lakers and the Magic might consider? Do you think that it's a fair trade for both sides? Or is it a bit one-sided? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and we'll see you next time on the channel.